Paul Teutul Sr. from Orange County Choppers stood at the event that night with the foundation, smiling politely and trying to look calm. He thanked everyone for inviting him, and for a moment, it felt like the old days when he was famous, respected, and living on top of the world. Years ago, he and his team were the kings of custom motorcycles. They took old metal and turned it into masterpieces that millions watched being built on Discovery Channel. Their show, American Chopper, made them household names. Fans loved the wild fights, the roaring engines, the impossible deadlines, and the larger-than-life personalities. But once the cameras turned off and the lights faded, everything they built slowly fell apart. The empire collapsed, the money disappeared, the fights got worse, and the family broke in ways that could not be repaired. Today, each one of them lives far from the life they once had, and the truth behind what happened to them is heartbreaking. Paul Sr. was once the loud, commanding boss who stood in the middle of Orange County Choppers with sunglasses on, arms crossed, barking orders like a king ruling his kingdom. He wasn't just a bike builder. He became the face of old-school toughness, a man who pushed through anything, someone fans admired for his grit. But away from television, the struggles were already mounting. Bills piled up. Lawsuits followed him everywhere. The company stopped pulling in the money it once did. By February 2018, everything crashed. Paul Sr. filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, admitting he owed huge amounts of money to nearly 50 creditors. His assets looked impressive on paper, but they were not enough to cover the disaster unfolding around him. He was earning money each month, but almost every dollar went right back out, leaving barely anything to survive on. The mansion he built in Montgomery, New York, and showed off proudly on television soon fell into foreclosure. In 2019, he was forced to sell it for around $1.5 million, far less than he hoped. He even had to include tools and farm animals in the sale, anything to generate more money. But the financial trouble was only one part of a much bigger storm. In 2017, his business partner, Thomas Derbyshire, sued him for fraud after investing $3 million into a new show. According to court documents, Paul Sr. delayed filming for an entire week so he could go fishing. He refused to work with people they had already hired. He secretly used part of the show's budget to pay his son Michael without telling anyone. He traded favors off the books, swapping dog food for his girlfriend's animal rescue needs and getting free gear for his shop. Everything was hidden in small deals that added up. More lawsuits followed. In 2019, a judge found him in contempt of court for not paying JTM Motorsports $17,000 for work done on his Corvette. He owed more than $151,000 in taxes to the town of Crawford. Even his credit card debt was over $21,000. Reports even surfaced linking him to an alleged investment scheme in Central America that tricked people out of millions, tied to his OC Roadhouse project. By March 2020, the original shop in New York was gone. Paul Sr. packed up and moved to Clearwater, Florida, hoping to restart his life. He opened the OC Museum and Roadhouse, trying to recreate the magic from years earlier. He still builds bikes. He still appears online. He still acts like the old days are not completely lost. But time has changed everything. The fortune is gone, the reputation damaged, and the trust between him and the people closest to him shattered permanently. Paul Jr., his oldest son, lived a story equally dramatic. He once stood proudly beside his father in the shop, designing bikes that amazed fans around the world. His talent turned Orange County Choppers into a global brand. But behind the scenes, the relationship between father and son was falling apart. They argued constantly about designs, decisions, leadership, everything. In 2008, during one of their worst fights, Paul Sr. fired his own son while cameras were rolling. Overnight, Jr. lost his office, his tools, his team, and the place he spent years helping build. But he still owned 20% of the company. Sr. did not want that. He tried to force his son completely out by triggering a buyout clause. His appraiser even claimed Jr.'s 20% of the company was worth absolutely nothing, which felt like a slap in the face to the son who helped make the brand famous. Jr. fought back and eventually won in court. The judges ruled the agreement was invalid, and he kept his share. But the victory came at the cost of the family bond. After that, The relationship between father and son was broken beyond repair. Junior then started his own company, Paul Jr. Designs. He no longer had the old crew or the TV empire supporting him, but he had his creativity and his name. Big brands like Microsoft, Cadillac, and Mercedes-Benz hired him to build custom motorcycles. He succeeded for a while, but financial trouble eventually hit him too. By 2018, he filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. His assets and debts nearly matched each other. He owed back taxes, and even his beautiful mansion in New York could not save him from financial collapse. He kept working, kept designing, kept building, but he was no longer part of the original empire he grew up in. Today his net worth is only around $2 million, far less than what he could have had if the business and family had stayed together. He lost the shop, the name, and the relationship with his father. Even so, he continues creating and competing, holding on to the one thing he never lost, his talent. Mikey Teutul was always the heart of American Chopper. Funny, kind, light-hearted, he was the one who softened the constant tension between his father and brother. While he wasn't a motorcycle builder, he kept the shop lively, answering phones, cleaning up, and cracking jokes. But his real struggle was hidden. Mikey battled alcoholism for years, a fight that slowly consumed his life. As his addiction worsened, even his father had to make a painful choice. Paul Sr. kicked him out of the shop entirely. Mikey disappeared from episodes, leaving fans confused, but the truth was that he had reached a dangerous point and needed help. He checked himself into rehab to save his life. Even after becoming sober, trouble continued. In 2019, a photographer named Scott Gunnels sued Mikey, Paul Sr., and Orange County Choppers for using photographs without permission. Those photos appeared on social media, on the show, and even on merchandise, with shirts selling for almost $20 and hoodies for nearly $40. The court ruled in the photographer's favor in February 2020, and Paul Sr. was ordered to pay more than $250,000 in damages. Meanwhile, Mikey faced his own financial losses. In 2004, he bought a house for $550,000, but by 2009, he had to sell it for $460,000, losing $90,000. Over time, his net worth dropped from $2 million to $1 million. The fame faded. The laughter grew quieter. But Mikey didn't give up. He returned to Orange County Choppers later on, working behind the scenes as assistant general manager and handling social media. He even started his own brand, selling homemade pasta sauces, and opened an art gallery in Montgomery where he displayed his sculptures and paintings. It was his way of rebuilding his life, piece by piece, away from the noise of fame. Vinnie DiMartino, one of the most respected builders from the show, made one of the quietest but boldest moves. In 2007, he walked out of Orange County Choppers after years of working under Paul Sr. When he left, Sr. coldly said on camera, "Everyone's replaceable, without gratitude or emotion." Vinnie didn't argue. He simply left. He partnered with another builder, Cody, and together they started V-Force Customs. Their shop grew quickly, and Vinnie soon appeared again on television, helping Paul Jr. in the series American Chopper, Sr. vs. Jr. For 4 seasons, things seemed promising. But the world changed after the 2008 financial crisis. The demand for custom motorcycles nearly disappeared. Shops closed everywhere. V-Force Customs couldn't survive the crash. By 2013, Vinnie had to sell his equipment, welders, tools, machinery, everything he depended on. He shut down the shop quietly and opened a smaller business, DiMartino Motorsports, just to keep his career alive. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. In the end, every member of the Orange County Choppers legacy went through loss, heartbreak, and financial disaster. They built an empire together, but fame and family tension tore everything apart. Today, they live separate lives, spread across the country, each trying to rebuild in their own way. The motorcycles are still loud, but the story behind them is even louder, a story of success, collapse, betrayal, addiction, lawsuits, and the painful cost of fame. Vinnie used to work in a world where cameras were always pointed at him, where every spark from a welding torch became part of a TV episode, and where people lined up just to watch him build motorcycles. But that life is gone now. Today, instead of creating custom choppers for celebrities and big companies, he fixes regular cars and light trucks for people who live nearby. His garage is simple and quiet. There are no producers telling him what to do, no crowds pressing against ropes, and no loud arguments echoing across the shop. He works with basic tools, real problems, and honest effort. His estimated net worth today is around $1 million. Compared to the fame he once had, it may seem small, but this time the money comes only from his own hands, not from a TV show or a scripted storyline. When Vinnie walked out of the Orange County Choppers shop in 2007, he proved something important. He showed that he did not need Paul Sr.'s approval to succeed, and he did not need millions of viewers to feel confident in himself. He only needed the courage to start again. Even when everything collapsed around him, Vinnie kept going. He found a quieter life, but a stronger one. Rick Petco lived a completely different kind of struggle. For 13 years, he woke up every morning in Pennsylvania and drove 90 minutes just to get to work at Orange County Choppers. After finishing a long day of building bikes, he drove the same 90 minutes back home. That was 3 hours every day, 5 days a week, trapped between trucks and traffic lights, just so he could reach the noisiest workshop on television. From July 2003 to 2016, Rick followed that routine without failing. While the Teutul family shouted at each other, argued over deadlines, and even threw furniture, Rick stayed calm and kept doing what he was trained to do. He wasn't part of the drama, but behind the scenes he was slowly getting worn down. His time, energy, and peace were being consumed by the road. He earned good money, especially when the show was at its peak. Every time Rick appeared on an episode, he earned $13,000 on top of his regular salary. Over the years, those checks added up, and by the time he decided to leave, his net worth was around $1.75 million. But all that money came with an invisible cost. The shop was filled with constant shouting. The cameras never stopped rolling. The pressure never went away. Even worse, Rick spent more time sitting behind a steering wheel than sitting with his wife. In 2012, when he got married, he started to see the truth. His life was slipping away one highway mile at a time. All the screaming, all the chaos, all the wasted hours on the road pushed him to ask himself what really mattered. The show made him famous and wealthy, but none of it made him happy. So in 2016, Rick did something that many people talk about but are too afraid to do. He walked away. He left the cameras, the bonus checks, and the long commute behind. He moved close to home and took a job at Pocono Mountain Harley-Davidson in Stroudsburg, where he could work without sacrificing his life on the road. He later told a local newspaper that while the TV years were exciting, they were never the core of who he was. Now Rick works from his farmhouse and creates handcrafted knives and custom wedding bands under the name RPD and Company. He attends motorcycle shows with his wife and kids. He builds things with patience and pride, not stress and shouting. Cody Connolly's journey was different from everyone else's. He was only 14 years old when he stepped into the Orange County Choppers shop in 2001. While most teenagers were doing homework and figuring out who they were, Cody was already welding pieces of metal together and learning from the Teutul family on national television. He wasn't just some kid in the background. Viewers watched him grow up, develop skills, and become a talented young builder. In the first season, he even received his own special bike project called the Cody Project. That bike eventually sold at Daytona Bike Week in 2003. Everything seemed perfect for Cody. Paul Sr. even paid for him to go to the American Motorcycle Institute to improve his skills. But behind the scenes, things were not as perfect as they looked. In October 2007, Cody left the shop at age 20, but the exit was far from peaceful. He filed a lawsuit against Paul Sr. and Orange County Choppers. The young man everyone rooted for was now accusing the man who had mentored him. Cody said they used his image on merchandise, posters, coloring books, and other products after he left, and he never received any payment for it. But even more painful was the moment when Paul Sr. gave him a custom chopper on camera and told him it was his. Cody claimed he never received that bike. It was just for the show. He asked for $250,000 in damages. Many people wondered why he waited so long to speak up. Cody explained that he didn't understand his rights when he was younger. The lawsuit continued until 2011 and was quietly settled out of court. No one talked about it again, and Cody slowly disappeared from the motorcycle world. He started a new life and opened a company called Revel Ranch Excavation in Pine Bush, New York. He now works with land clearing, septic systems, demolition, and drainage. He is married, has a daughter, and rarely posts on social media. The boy who once welded gas tanks on TV now works with dirt and heavy machinery, far from the spotlight. Jason Pole's story is filled with talent, pressure, and criticism. He joined Orange County Choppers in 2004 after Paul Sr. saw his digital motorcycle designs. Before the show, Jason designed artwork for a pinball game, but his creativity impressed Sr. enough to hire him as the head designer. At first, Jason's futuristic sketches amazed both the staff and the audience. His ideas were bold and imaginative. But the internet wasn't kind. People online began calling him arrogant. Some accused him of arguing with fans on message boards. One blogger even claimed Jason was the most hated person on American Chopper. Many bikers criticized his drawings, saying they didn't look like real motorcycles. Over and over again, Paul Sr. had to remind him that a sketch had to become something functional. The hardest moment came during the Senior vs. Junior spin-off when Paul Sr. exploded over one of Jason's designs and called it a cake decorator. Jason was hurt. He said he cared deeply about his work, and having the owner insult him on camera broke him. In the 2011 build-off against Paul Jr. and Jesse James, Jason helped design a tank-like motorcycle with flamethrowers. The crowd hated it. The internet mocked it. People said it looked like something from a video game rather than a motorcycle. That reputation stuck with Jason for years. In February 2018, when Orange County Choppers began to fall apart financially, Jason's screen time faded. Paul Sr. filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy with more than $66,000 in credit card debt and 8 lawsuits. Jason officially left in March 2020. In 2021, he moved to Florida and changed directions completely. He now works as a brand ambassador for SolidWorks, designing products in a peaceful environment with no drama, no flames, and no shouting. His net worth is around $700,000, and he seems to enjoy a calmer life. Nick Hansford was a quiet force behind the scenes. While everyone else argued and fought, Nick focused on building bikes with skill and patience. He trained at the American Motorcycle Institute in Florida along with his close friend Christian Welter. Nick worked at Pompano Fats and Daytona Choppers, but everything changed at Bike Week in 2000 when he met Paul Sr. Sr. saw potential in him and brought him to Orange County Choppers as a technician and distributor. In 2002, Nick moved to New York for family reasons, not knowing that decision would shape the rest of his life. He became a full-time mechanic and worked at the shop for 17 years. He appeared on the show but never chased fame. He avoided lawsuits, feuds, and financial trouble. He simply worked hard and stayed steady. Today, Nick lives in Virginia with his wife and children. He keeps his life private and does not post much online. After years in the spotlight, he chose a quiet life away from public attention. Christian Welter followed a similar path. Born in 1978 in New Jersey, he attended the American Motorcycle Institute and shared a dorm with Nick. That friendship eventually led him to Orange County Choppers in the first season of the show. Christian wasn't the loudest or the flashiest. He focused on the technical work that made every bike function: wiring, assembly, and mechanical details. While the Teutul's fought during episodes, Christian stayed in the back making sure the bikes were safe and complete. He avoided all drama, including Paul Sr.'s bankruptcy issues. Christian also had a passion for music. He had been playing drums since he was 12. When the shop's general manager found out, they formed a band. They even recorded an album with 10 songs. Christian eventually left the shop in 2016 and moved on quietly, just like Nick. He didn't fall into scandal. He didn't lose himself in the show. He simply worked until it was time to go. The story of Daniel Teutul, however, is different from all of them. Daniel was not on the TV show, but what happened to him nearly destroyed the entire family empire. As Paul Sr.'s second oldest son, Daniel took over the original business, Orange County Ironworks, in 2004. But behind the scenes, trouble was building. In 2007, a bankruptcy trustee accused Daniel and his family of removing valuable equipment, workers, and accounts from the old company and transferring them into a new business called Orange County Ironworks LLC without paying what the assets were worth. The old company collapsed into bankruptcy, and creditors received nothing. It was not just bad management, it was alleged fraud. When the case ended in December 2008, Daniel was only 32 years old, but he faced a massive penalty. He had to pay $500,000, while Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. only paid $50,000 each. Daniel's punishment was 10 times larger. At that time, most Americans earned around $40,000 per year, so the fine was crushing. But Daniel never gave up. He didn't run. He didn't file for bankruptcy. He worked harder than ever. He rebuilt the business reputation and started another company called Gabriel Steel. By 2024, he had expanded his workforce from 35 employees to 69. Surprisingly, Daniel was the one who built the giant Orange County Choppers headquarters, the building that made his brothers TV stars. He never received credit, but without him, the studio would not have existed. While his brothers battled on television and lost millions, Daniel quietly turned a devastating scandal into one of New York's strongest steel companies.